Today I get to hang out with Kate Tucker. She has many different titles, and she is an organizer. She is a podcast host. She is also a musician, an artist. How are you today, Kate?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're going to talk about a couple different things. We're going to start off talking about Civic Saturday. And I just want you to, for people who've never heard of it, go ahead and just explain what is Civic Saturday.
Yeah, Civic Saturday is a joyful neighborhood gathering in celebration of community and shared civic purpose. And shared civic purpose doesn't mean the same purpose. It just means we are acknowledging that we as Akronites have a responsibility to each other, to take care of each other, take care of our neighborhoods, do what we can to activate our civic power, vote, figure out who's deciding, what's going on, come together and solve some problems.
I love that. So what made you interested in Civic Saturday? What made you, want to bring it here to Akron?
Yeah, well, I was born and raised in Akron, and I was living away for a long time, and I hosted some Civic Saturdays in Nashville. I learned about the model through Citizen University based in Seattle. They started it about 10 years ago because there were people in Seattle who felt like, they weren't able to enact the change they needed to see in their neighborhoods. They felt powerless, they felt disconnected, and so they leaned into these age-old practices of gathering, just coming together, spending time over and over, getting to know your neighbors, hearing their perspectives, because when we bring together lots of different perspectives and experiences, we find these really smart answers, to the problems that we're seeing. And we also understand, that what we want is actually a lot more similar than what maybe we're hearing in the media or what we're hearing it's just being told to us. We're being told that America's divided, that we're extremely polarized, but actually I think we all want very similar things.
That's really beautiful. There is such power in numbers, right? It's like when you're by yourself and you're the lone voice saying something, it does feel lonely. And then when you're coming together and you're finding other people that maybe don't even have the exact same opinion as you, but can come together and you can listen and just be together, as one group.
Absolutely.
There's power in that.
Yeah.
And change can be made.
You're not, you don't want it to be a situation where you're not disagreeing. Disagreement can be healthy. It's finding ways to deliberate and hear each other. And like some of my Appalachian friends say, it's hard to hate up close.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
The more you get to know who your neighbors are. The other piece of it that's been really cool, and we have this is our fourth one of the year, November 2nd. We have had about 80 to 100 neighbors gathering. It's been very intergenerational. People from all over Akron coming into Highland Square. And the piece of that I've loved so much is just that you start to see that there are all these amazing talents and gifts and resources and assets in the community. Brandon with Dreams Academy was talking about, all of the beautiful things that they're building there. There's funding, there's money, there's more money that we can bring together as, individuals in Akron and see how we can actually enact change. But there's also things beyond money. There's just wisdom, experience, understanding, history. And all of that just comes together so beautifully in these gatherings. So
yeah, and you get to hear from people in these gatherings. I've actually been able to attend a few. You hear music, you hear poetry, a spoken word, and then you get to hear from your neighbors what things are going on in their different pockets of Akron, and I love that as well. So if you are looking for a place to be, looking for a place to belong, it's a good place for people to come and be and meet people and learn.
Yeah, we love it. And I think what you just raised, the civic circles, we call them, there's a point in the program where we gather in groups of 4 to 6 and talk with each other, get to hear from each other. And I think that's actually everyone's favorite part. At first I was nervous because, after the pandemic, we really started to feel, I think it was hard to go back out in the world. It was hard to go out and interact. And I think this has shown me that that's what we really do long for, regardless of how much we're on our screens or in our houses. What we really want to do is connect in real life and face to face, and it's just so powerful.
Yeah, so important. So speaking of connecting, you also do that through your podcast, and that is called Hope Is My Middle Name.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful name of a podcast. Good job on that name.
It is my middle name, so it's kind of...
It is your middle name too?
Yeah, so it's kind of cheating.
That's amazing. Yeah. And so I just want you to share a little bit about your podcast as well.
Well, thank you. Hope Is My Middle Name is a podcast where I get to interview everyday Americans who are basically facing challenges and finding innovative, unconventional ways to solve those challenges. So they are doing everything from building a town for the homeless in Austin to cleaning up boatloads of trash in the Houston Bayou.
Wow.
To, bringing people out of incarceration and addiction in New Hampshire. I go all across the country. This season just launched, and I'm so excited because actually this week we had our first Ohio guest.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so we have Maria Rush. She is a nurse supervisor with Nurse Family Partnership at Metro Health in Cleveland. She's a Twinsburg resident. And so it was so great to just get to talk with someone local and hear her powerful story of how she's helping first-time mothers really connect with resources, and they actually walk the children through programs all the way up to the age of 2 and make sure that they're advocated for and connected. Yeah, it's so powerful.
That's really important work.
So amazing. So I feel very fortunate to get to talk with all of these people who are inspiring hope, but it's real hope. It's not just something fluffy, because hope can be tricky these days, right?
Yeah, really true.
Yeah, These people are living on the hard edge of hope. They're finding really smart and resilient ways and to deal with all of the challenges, and they inspire us to do something in our own unique way to make a difference.
Yes, absolutely. So you shared a few of those guests, and I'm sure you can't pick a favorite, but tell us maybe one other person that came on the podcast that just really inspired you.
Oh, that's so tricky. Well, I talked to Civic Saturday, actually. There's some overlap about Diamond Hargis from Indianapolis. He has a group called the Learning Tree, and basically they work with asset-based community development, which I think could really be something probably that we've been doing it here in Akron. It's been done for ages. It's very
Sure.
indigenous. But it's this idea that there are resources and gifts, and it's a matter of organizing them and kind of identifying what people's resources are by asking them to tell you their story. So it's this invitation to say, hey, this is who I am. This is my experience. And it started with this guy who became called the original roving listener, Diamond Hargis, who just decided he was going to go out and ask every single neighbor on his street to tell him their birth story.
Their story.
Yeah. How did you get here? Because he said, this is something we all have in common. Everybody wants to tell their story. And I thought, I said, well, how do we do that in everyday life? And he said, just go for a walk with your neighbor. Ask your neighbor if they will go, and say, hey, I'm going to take 2 minutes. You take 2 minutes. Tell me the circumstances of your birth. And I was like, that is so deep. And he said, no, people, everybody has something to say about it, even if it's, I'm not really sure, or I don't know this or that, or I'm really proud to be from Akron, and here's what happened,
Yeah.
And so just starting these conversations, it was so inspiring to hear from him, because since then, Community Foundation of Indianapolis, all of these other grant-making places and grantors, as well as corporations and municipalities, including the U.S. Surgeon General, have come to their community to learn from them and to figure out how to be better neighbors, how to combat the epidemic of loneliness and isolation that is sweeping our country. So it's just been so inspiring to get to talk with Diamond Hargis.
Right.
That's episode 3 of the season, I think.
That's amazing. I loved hearing that, because how do we find commonality? It's in our stories. Like you said at the beginning, we're not as different as we think. Our media makes us very polarized, especially right now. I'm actually looking forward to post-election in that regard. Because we are, we just are told that we should hate the other side of whatever side we're on. But it's so beautiful. I love the commonality in that he's saying, we all have a birth story, and we all have a story. We all have a story to tell. Yeah. Thank you for telling people's stories on Hope is a Middle Name. How can people find the podcast?
It's at hopeismymiddelname.com, and you can follow me at Kate Tucker Music. And I have to say, if you're thinking of coming to Civic Saturday on November 2nd, it is for us to come together. It is for us to come together with all sorts of different, beliefs and positions. It's nonpartisan, and we are hoping that it will be a calming space for us to really say, okay, from the ballot box and beyond, where do we go from Election Day? What do we need as a community? How do we come together?
That's beautiful. And people can get tickets for Civic Saturday how?
CivicSaturdayAkron.com.
Great. All right. Thank you so much, Kate.
Thank you
for the show today and for all the work that you're doing here in Akron.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thank you guys so much for watching. We had a great morning on Good Morning Akron. Make sure you stay tuned. We've got more great stuff coming up next.